Hello, everyone. Welcome to Good Journeys Tarot. It's Rosemary, and today I thought I would do a walkthrough of one of my newer decks, which has just really become a go-to for me. This is a deck that previously I would never have purchased, but it was among those decks that I talked about in my Not My Tarot Aesthetic video recently. And so I thought I'd do a full flip through of it and let you know what's working for me with this deck and what I really love about it. I actually have a large number of decks in my collection, which I've never done a walkthrough of. So if you see one on my list, which is in the description box below, that you would like to see a full flip through of, let me know and I'll be happy to do that. As well, if you have any hashtags you've seen that you would be interested in my perspective on, please do reach out and let me know. Um, and also, before we get into our flip through of the beautiful Numinous Tarot, I would like to invite everyone to join my Facebook group, Good Journeys into Tarot, where we can have some conversation. I really would like to have some dialogue with people about the tarot and about YouTube and Instagram and all of those things which we are a part of. In social media. And so I'd love for you to join me there. Um, this is Rosemary, and we are going to flip the camera around for a flip through of the Numinous Tarot. And here is the deck. It comes in a really nice two-part box. It does have the thumbnail enclosure, so you can pull it apart easily. It is larger than the deck. The box came in with an insert for the deck. I've taken the insert out. You'll see there the postcard that came with the deck that I've put in it. Because I wrapped the deck up in this reading cloth to put in the box. I really do not like those paper inserts that are inside boxes. If it had been a foam insert, I might have just left it as is. But the way this works now, I can actually wrap this deck up, put the book and the deck in this wrap, which becomes a reading cloth, in the box, along with any crystals or oil or anything I might want to carry with me if, say, I'm going somewhere and I'm doing something with this deck. Just an idea for you. This is the third edition of this deck, so it does have some variations from the previous two, the main one being the guidebook. The previous guidebooks were in full color and included images of the cards for all of the cards. This one only includes them for the major arcana, and those are in black and white, but it is the same content. It is a really well done guidebook. The only thing missing in this guidebook for me is a table of contents, which is very helpful when you're going through a book and you don't know how it's organized. Thank you, Pogi. So there is a little bit of introductory information about how to read the tarot in here, shuffling, that type of thing. But once you get past that, there's actually some really great things in here. It talks about the Fool's Journey, and it will go through that Fool's Journey with every card in the deck. It's going to do it with each suit, which I think is wonderful. There's a little bit about court cards. There's a little about the renaming of those court cards, which we'll talk about in a moment. Then it talks about the suits and the journeys through each of the pips. It will also talk about reading reversals, standard things, which make this a great deck for beginners despite the suits being renamed and various cards being renamed to make this a more gender neutral deck. There are some spreads. The spreads are designed based on the suits within the deck, which is actually kind of cool, and I enjoy that. It's not as simple as, say, coming up with a 1-card or 3-card spread based on the deck or based on the Celtic Cross like many decks do. And then it goes through and it talks about each of the cards in upright and a reversal meaning, as well as some key words. And this is a fabulous guidebook. It walks you through the story of each suit and the major arcana. And so it not only provides great insight for reading the individual cards, but it gives you context for everything as one. And I really do love that. So we're going to look at the cards. They are not in any particular order since I have been working heavily with this deck. In fact, the first few cards are actually from my most recent reading. I tend to actually put those on the bottom of the deck. As you can see here, the tomes come up a lot for me. This is the Earth suit. And so this has really become my grounding deck. Like, is bringing me down to earth and putting me in that kind of secure, safe space working with this deck. I do love it, despite it breaking all of my rules, like by renaming the suits and renaming the cards and the court names and all of that. It still is very beautiful. And it's very representative. Even though it strives to be gender neutral, you're going to see men and women of various sizes, shapes, abilities, and races. And here's our first court card, the Explorer of Vials, which came up for me recently. Vials being the water suit in this deck. And of course, the Explorer being our knights. So this is our card of action, actually going out and finding out new things about our suit. Love this depiction of the Six of Earth, or Pentacles, in this case tomes. Here's our Fool diving in head first into the unknown. The Lovers, which is actually the card that is on all of the boxes. The Trash Person is here, of course. Here's our Ace of Vials. Tomes. The Chariot. Just the Unicorn. The Nine of Bells. So this is our air suit, our sword suit. Sometimes there's just too much noise going on. It gives us that anxiety, that inability to sleep. The Visionary is our Hierophant card traditionally. So this is that spiritual leader or guide. There are some things that I like about this card. There's a little bit of the essence of the Hierophant that I think is missing. In that it does not really relate to that idea of knowledge, which is controlled by those in power that you get from the Hierophant typically, but it does give you some spiritual representation, which is typical of the Hierophant. Much more of a High Priestess feel than a Hierophant feel to me. There's our Hermit, beautiful. The Creator. So the Creator of Tomes, this is corresponding to our Queens. So this is the one who is nurturing the suit into something, right? So creating something out of our element, right? Nurturing it into fruition. There's our Two of Candles. Candles being our fire suit, normally our wands. There's some of that ability representation I talked about in our two. Our Two of Vials. The Explorer of Bells. I love this card. Traditionally, I would see the Queen or Creator of Bells as my significator. However, this is a card I much more relate to in this particular deck, the Knight of Airs. So here's our founder, aka our emperor. There's that sun card, which was the postcard I received. Beautiful. The Mystic of Bell. So this is going to be the equivalent of our king. This is going to be the one who has acquired the knowledge necessary to master their element. And in this case, it is the suit of air. And you can just see how she makes that bell resonate. So this is very common of people to rename the Judgment card to Awakening. I think that is an aspect of Judgment. However, I think we sometimes miss the downside of this card when we rename it this way. So the Dreamer is our page or princess card. So this is the one who is really just learning about their suit and about the energy of the element. And despite having changed many of the suit names and card names, you can see that this follows very much the ideas and imagery from the Smith Waite in many ways. Though with much more everyday imagery. The idea here in this Seven of Candles is just a little bit different than we might normally see in a Seven of Wands. Here, you know, there is jealousy of the success of this person. Typically, when we think about that card, we think of being backed into a corner and defending ourselves. Which I suppose in a way, this person is taking a stand for themselves. They're okay with standing out and with other people being jealous of them. Definitely a different and beautiful interpretation. Again, normally this is the card I would probably use as my significator, but again, in this deck, for some reason, the Explorer resonates with me more than, say, the Creator. So this is typically our Empress card. In this case, it's called the Nurturer. There she is, surrounded by the wheat field, and she is fanning the flame, so to speak. She is making things grow. I just love this card. It's such a happy, joyful card. This is typically our wish card. And as a result, they have all of the pretty things. And if you look closely, and I had to read the book to actually see this myself, there is the sun, the moon, and the stars in all of the vials. This is a beautiful death card. Just a very different kind of feel than you typically see in the card. But everybody deals with death differently, so why shouldn't the death card be different in different decks? So the moon here is probably not my ideal representation, simply because I think that the moon should focus on the moon. And by having this female figure here, I think it draws more attention to her, and maybe her relationship with the moon than, say, to the moon itself. I mean, this could be interpreted as the personification of the moon. But personally, when I see a moon card or sun card or star card, I want those elements, the moon, the sun, the star, to be a focal point in those cards. But this is the image that I can work with and that I'm enjoying. Oddly, I really love this star card with the various constellations. There's the word, Rosemary, represented here. The interesting thing about this card, which I've not figured out, is why she has the earth symbol around her neck. If you have any thoughts about that, let me know. So the Numinous is an extra card in this deck, and this card is one I'm going to read from the guidebook for you about. Typically, I don't keep extra cards in my deck, but this one I liked. I believe this is updated from the original deck. I think the card is different. It says when the Numinous card comes up in a reading, it's an indication that mysterious forces are at play. The numinous is that feeling you get when staring up at the night sky, realizing that in that moment just how vast and beautiful space is. You feel like you might just fall into the gorgeous starry void at any moment, which is exhilarating and a bit frightening. The numinous is what you feel when you find a special moonlit grove or an alleyway filled with colorful graffiti, when you gaze out from a high place, when a sunbeam cuts through the fog in the early morning. It is the magic and the mystery of the world that we connect to in brief but powerful moments throughout our lives. And it goes on, but this is definitely an idea that I can relate to, and is definitely coming across in my deck creation process as I work specifically with the sun, the moon, and the star cards. The diviner is equivalent to the high priestess. Thought a cake for the card of victory was an interesting choice. Apparently, the different flowers in here have different significances, which relate to the concept of victory. Here we have a bear for strength instead of a lion. And then here is our shadow card, which is normally the devil. Not my favorite depiction of the devil, but it definitely gets the point across. I do love this Four of Candles, which would be our Four of Wands, our card of celebration. that is the Numinous Tarot by Cedar McLeod. Now, you may see it also published on Cedar's old name, but Cedar has recently had a legal name change, and so the new deck is published under Cedar McLeod. So that is the Numinous Tarot. I hope that you've enjoyed this little walkthrough and discussion of some of the cards. And please do go look at my list of decks if there's a deck that you particularly want to see or get my insights on, or a hashtag you'd like to see me do. Please do let me know. Until next time, everyone, good journeys.